Welcome back to the channel, y'all. This is the #1 and original Living in Galveston, Texas channel. Hi, y'all. My name is Shari Hensley, and I'm a realtor living and working right here on beautiful Galveston Bay. Today, we're going to go over 7 instant regrets that you might see in your new build home. So if you're in the process of that new construction, you know you're going over all of your options. I've seen it. You've been poring over the perfect countertop, the perfect color scheme, upgrades, and that budget. These are things that maybe you hadn't really initially thought about. You're in your home maybe a couple of months and you realize, I really wish I would have thought of this beforehand. Now, a lot of these are either options that I was lucky enough to have thought of, or they were really pain points that I have personally experienced in the past with my clients. These are things that I just think I wouldn't want to go forward in any new home without having these things. My hope is that this can help save you some headaches, maybe even some money, by doing it up front as opposed to trying to do some of these things later. It just gets very expensive when you do get into that kind of home renovation phase. Having some of these done beforehand will not only be saving you money, but it's really going to be saving you some headaches. Some of these could take weeks to get done. So let's see what we can do about that right now. If that sounds good to you, be sure to give this video a like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe here. Now we're going to jump right in. #1, not upgrading your flooring on the first floor. Now, this can be a little bit tricky. Now, I know that flooring can get very, very expensive. So before I really dive in, I want you to keep in mind your budget is really going to dictate all of this. But no doubt these are nice upgrades to have. These are things that I think are personally worth the money. But your situation is always going to be a little bit different. So just keep in mind that your budget is really the thing that needs to dictate all of these choices we're going to talk about today. Typically, in a lot of these new build homes, you'll have some type of wood, luxury vinyl plank, vinyl, whatever the flooring option is for the kitchen and maybe the entryway, but most of it's going to be carpet. First and foremost, so if you're like me and that's just not really what you're going to go for, I've had a lot of issues with carpet in the past. I would highly suggest upgrading to not necessarily a hardwood, but there are some other great options. I'm not really a fan of hardwood. Now, I have 2 large Weimaraners, and I got to tell you, it's just not feasible to have hardwoods. There are other options like luxury vinyl plank, engineered hardwood, and I prefer that wood look ceramic plank tile. All of these luxury vinyl plank and engineered hardwoods look so similar, and they've done such a great job at really mimicking that hardwood look. Some offer even a rough scrape. It looks and feels like wood. Plus, they're going to be UV resistant, so they're not going to fade. They're scratch resistant, they're waterproof, and they're cheaper. So I just understand hardwood if that's your preference. I totally support your decision. It's really just not for me and my family's needs. So I would highly suggest looking into these probably not too much more expensive options. They are really going to help you give some more bang for your buck. #2, continuing the hard surface flooring upstairs. Whatever your hard surface choice is on your first floor, at the very least into the hallways onto your second floor. A lot of times, as soon as you get to that top step, it transitions right into carpet because, again, carpet is just the standard for a majority of these homes, and that's going to be throughout the entire second floor. Now, we did stick with carpet in all the bedrooms, but in this home and in our previous home, we made sure that at least the hallway was that same either wood or luxury vinyl plank or a ceramic plank or any other wood alternative of choice because you get so much foot traffic there. I know you've seen or probably experienced those worn foot traffic patterns in carpet, and it happens so fast. That was something I was definitely not prepared for in our previous home. There was a certain path when you got through the hallway to the living room and into the kitchen. There was just this little curve to get from, again, that front door into that kitchen area that wore down so quickly between us and those Weimaraners. So we did end up ripping up all the carpet in the living room to transition to that same wood that was already in the hallway. It just takes more time. I don't really remember the cost comparison, but what I can tell you, it was very, very loud because we were living there. At that point, it just took up a good chunk of the weekend. Oh goodness, my Weimaraners were really upset. It really made me wish that I had done it beforehand. But with these foot traffic patterns, anywhere that does get heavy use, like a hallway, I would definitely think about using a harder surface than, say, carpet. Sticking with carpet, like I said, we definitely kept the carpet in the bedrooms, but one of the things that you can upgrade, number 3, carpet pad upgrade. If you don't want to do the carpet itself, at least upgrade or think about upgrading the carpet pad. Having that thicker padding underfoot makes it so much softer, so much nicer to walk across. And it's generally a cheaper option to upgrade the underlying pad rather than going up the tiers of more expensive carpet choices. So this is kind of a nice way to pick that builder grade carpet and still have it feel a little bit nicer, a little bit more upgraded, but just getting that thicker pad underneath. Now, this is something we did in our previous home to add a little bit durability and washability. Now, if you're thinking about putting down a hard surface, hardwood, vinyl plank, or ceramic later, probably not the best place to spend your money for extra pad, but it does make a little bit more cushioning and it's really nice. It's a little bit more durable for those places where you might see more spills, and again, it just kind of gets a little bit more of a luxurious feel without going into those more expensive types of carpet. Sticking with flooring, number 4. Now we're going to look at tiles, specifically the primary bathroom. Now, there are a bunch of different ways that I would highly suggest investing in your primary bathroom. That is definitely somewhere you're going to spend a lot of time, and I think it's absolutely worth the upgrades throughout here. But one area in particular that I'd say keep the tile pretty standard for the rest of the home. If you're not looking to have that extra money to spend to begin with, but again, remember your primary bathroom, you're going to spend so much time in there, y'all. Think of this as your little oasis or your little spa, your little getaway. Having that look and feel maybe a little bit more luxurious is something that you will enjoy. Tile is something that is a huge pain to replace later. So again, it is something you can think about in all of your bathrooms, but your primary one tends to be quite large. You can have that same tile going up the wall. So really there's just more tile to think about and consider. So having that kind of demolition can get very, very pricey very, very quickly. So I would suggest at least that something that we did personally, upgrading the tile in the primary, is something that you think you're going to really love for a long time to come. And again, it just gives you that little bit of a more luxurious feel. Remember, you're going to be in there every single day. Next up, number 5. We're going to look at the vanity height for most of your bathrooms. I would say it's probably not going to be as much in your primary, but really here I'm thinking about that kind of back saver vanity height for all your bathrooms. Now, full disclosure, I don't have children. That is not something that's going to be in my future. So if I'm wrong on this, please let me know below. But here's my thinking here. When you have those shorter vanity heights, that's something like 30 inches, which is the industry standard, which I think is wildly incorrect, but it's just me. And your typical kitchen counter height, well, it's somewhere about 36 inches. So that's where it's really comfortable for adults to stand and work and make sure that anything you're putting down or picking up or leaning over to use the sink, it's just more manageable. Now, when that height is dropped half a foot, it really becomes awkward really fast. This is something I didn't even think about. I didn't even know about. Honestly, in our previous home, until our shower and primary bathroom broke and we had to use the guest bathroom. And so I was using the sink in there and I was putting things down and picking things up. Oh my God, it was wild. Like, why is this so short? I just don't understand. So now I know, and we made sure to upgrade all of the ones in our current home that we'll be moving into that back saver 36-inch height. Now, here's my logic that, again, let me know if I'm off base here, y'all. I understand that children are shorter and they're going to need to be able to access that sink in some capacity. But I feel like, y'all, that's what stools are for, because they help you get that height, and the child's going to grow and they're going to get taller. Now, what's easier, in my opinion, is having somebody who's shorter or smaller using a little stool while they're growing, because once you've reached your height. Now, what's easier, in my opinion, is having somebody who's shorter or smaller using a stool while they're still growing. Because once they've reached their full height, once you've outgrown that 30-inch sink, you can't ungrow, right? You're always going to be taller, and then it's going to be awkward for the rest of your life. So I don't quite understand the payoff of making it easier for a few years now rather than making it easier forever. Once somebody's full grown, so again, maybe it's just my opinion, y'all, but if you don't have kids, if you do plan on having them, y'all use stools. If all of your children are adults grown out of the house, whatever that is, I would highly suggest getting that back saver 36-inch vanity height. It really is so much nicer, and it's really awkward to use the shorter ones once you're fully grown. Number 6, I'm going to go into the garage next. Now tell me if this has been you, because it has definitely been me. Before you get to your space, it's either a 1-car or a 2-car, and you think that maybe that means you can actually fit things in there with your car. So I remember we were renting a townhome in the Galleria area 20 years or so ago, and it had a 2-car garage. I gotta tell you, we were both so excited because that meant we could put both of our cars in the garage. So we pulled in, and yes, technically both of them did fit. Now, if you wanted to actually open your doors and get out of your car, well, that was another subject. So I just find that a lot of times you want to think about however many cars you have plus 1. So that means a 3-car garage if you just have the 2, or whatever you have. I would add a garage space. If that's something that is within your budget and it fits on your lot, you're going to have more things that you need to store. Trust me. There just always seems to be a storage issue, right? No matter how big our houses are, we just never have enough storage. But if you're thinking of things like your lawnmower and your weed whacker and any types of tools, all of these things take up a lot of space, and you want somewhere to store them. Now, you can always get an outdoor shed, which is something to definitely look into. But again, even if you're trying to park your cars, sometimes those spaces just aren't enough. So if you maybe don't have it in your budget to spring for that 2-car garage, or if you only have 1 or 3, or if you have 2, at least try to get the dimensions from your builder. Measure it out. And honestly, I want you to map it out. Park in that space, and then see if you can open your doors and get in and out. Y'all, I was so shocked to see how little space a 2-car garage can really have. I've never run into somebody saying, oh yeah, my garage is just too big. I've just got way too much room in here. I really wish I had less space in this garage. You'll always see it in the opposite direction, so definitely something to consider. And then finally, number 7. This is probably the most important one, y'all. Making any decisions based off anybody other than what you think. A lot of times we think of this kind of ideal version of ourselves, or our ideal version of our lives, or we get sucked into seeing people on Instagram and Facebook, and that's thinking that's what you really need to do. That's what you need to spend your money on. That's what your house needs to look like. That's how you're supposed to be living, and how you put your money and your hard-earned money, your livelihood, into something that really just doesn't work for you. So you really need to consider everything. Write it down, price it all out, and just really think to yourself, does this fit my lifestyle? Am I making this decision based off of what I'm going to want based off how I live and what I need? Or am I making this decision based off of some type of ideal, some type of life that I've seen somewhere else that doesn't quite match up? It can be a hard conversation to have with yourself. It's definitely something I have experienced. And the more I learn about these things and the more I get into them, the more I realize that you really have to do these gut checks quite often. It's definitely how I ran into some of my design decor issues in the past, trying to kind of shoehorn myself into what you're supposed to do instead of what I actually wanted to do and what really worked for me and what I actually like. Now, that kind of gut check is just something to always keep in mind, especially if you're building your home. If you're putting money into renovations, these things aren't cheap. They're time consuming. Make sure it works for you. So you'll always see the next trend, the next must have, the next best and greatest. Take a step back and make sure it works. So y'all, that's it for this video. Those are the 7 things that you might instantly regret when you get into your new build home. If these aren't things that you've considered until unfortunately it's too late. Again, some of these are some that I've experienced myself, and some of them are ones that I've made sure to go out of my way to make sure they're not in the home that we're going to be moving into. Now, I do hope this helped you and that you've learned something. Maybe it's going to get you thinking a little bit differently about your new construction home. Either way, I hope it helped you. Stick around for some more great content just like this. Reach out to us, give us a call, set up your own personal consultation. We'd be honored to represent you and make your new home construction move a smooth one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.